this concept of definition, looking at other people for definition. It reminded me of something here. Often the people we look for to define the situation are the people who brought on the initial confusion in the first place, you see. And it's very interesting because when you want to manipulate people, and some of you do this subconsciously, and some do it consciously, one of the first things you do is to confuse them. Like, we've done that among each other a little bit, right? You confuse them a little bit, upset them, they don't know quite what to do, and then what do? I got the answer. I'll get you out of your misery. So therefore, the person who first puts you in your misery also becomes your authority for what? Getting you out. And of course, when they get you out, they're going to get you out in terms that will advance their own interests. And watching, you see this in personal behavior as well as group behavior. The very group that has lied to you, has rewritten your history, has enslaved your parents, has eaten you up economically in every other kind of way, is the very group you go to validate reality and to validate what is real and to validate what is true. And you're foolish enough to think that they are the ultimate validators of what is real. And you're foolish enough to think that they're going to give you a definition that's going to get you out of your misery. And that's why we rush to their schools and rush to sit under their feet and rush to, and where the greatest liars of all sit, that's the places we want to go first. And where the highest liars are, those are the degrees we're most proud of. And you write these papers and they make you quote these liars. Oh, you don't have enough references here. Fill the liars. But then if you go and get your own people, somebody you can't have to leave them because they're not accepted by the establishment or something like that, and the references that are related to your own, you're scared to put them in because, the liars don't recognize us. You see? And you'll see this reversal going on all the time. You see, where the confuser also becomes the authority. In fact, they confuse you first so that they can become the authority. You see, and it's set up and built up that way. And consequently, you will see us there going back to our original confusers. People who are defining things. And when people define things, and ultimately when you define, you end up serving the definition. You end up becoming the definition. To a degree, the more you educate a black man in these institutions, and the more black people accept these definitions, the more they will stay within the confines of the definition. And therefore, there's no escape through education. The other thing, domain of discourse. What we call the domain of discourse. By that we mean, who chooses what it is important to talk about? What is news? That which comes on 7 o'clock in the evening? What is news? You ever thought about that? Who defines news? That's the domain of discourse. You got a group of guys and whoever that sits back every evening and say, this is news. Okay? And a lot of people, and they define it what we write in our news. The New York Times is the newspaper of record. Right? What comes on CBS, ABC is what? News. If it doesn't come on there, then it's not what? It's not news. This is a control of the domain of discourse. What do you talk about when you come to these classrooms? Many people come to these colleges and they assume that what is in the college catalog is worth learning. They assume that it must be worth learning because of what? Because it's there. If it weren't worth learning, why would they put it in? And then they also make the opposite assumption that if it's not in there, what? It's not worth learning. This is a control of discourse, control of the domain of discourse, where people now set what is important to talk about, what is important to learn. You see, when you open the book, I talk to my students in psychology. Every time I talk about something that's not in the book, their eyes glaze over. They put their brain into neutral and wait till I get back to psychology. I tell them I'm always talking psychology. In fact, when I talk to you about something that's not in the book, I'm talking about that is the most important thing I'm talking about that day, at that moment. However, because you have accepted this book as the definer of what psychology is, You see, you're going to see what I talk about as being unimportant. And of course, what I'm talking about is how that psychology can be used for our advancement. I see students even get uncomfortable when I get in it. I talk to mixed classes, and you can see the blacks.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. Yo, what's going on, Consider? Appreciate you for coming through. Shouts out to Consider in the building. And yeah, we definitely gonna come back with another live Friday. So y'all definitely tune in for that. Definitely real conversations that we need to have. And today, I'm not gonna be long because it's something that I want you to see, especially to you, Consider. Um, I don't know what's going on, Matron. Shouts out to Matron in the building. But yeah, I don't know if you saw like that whole governor thing down in North Carolina. So, you know, um but first, before I do that, I wanted to show this. I wish I'd seen this. Shouts out to my brother Black Megas for sending me this. But I really liked it. I think it was like the best, like I don't really play, but check out these young brothers here, yo. These is some young black young black children rapping about farming and eating healthy. So I could definitely appreciate that. I want to definitely give a shout out to these young brothers.
In my hood, there ain't really much to eat. Popeyes on the corner, McDonald's right across the street. All this talk about guns and the drugs, pretty serious. But look at what they feeding y'all. That's what's really killing us. Please change the food in my school, make it good. Get that fake food up out of my hood. Hope the message not misunderstood. Grow and cook your own food, yes you could. Got the little homies in the garden, got the big homies selling collard greens in the north side. Ain't starving since community cooks been on the scene.
Screaming hot Cheetos and Takis, boy, you better eat your broccoli. Fake food is kinda lame, putting poison in your brain. Need more people at the club, popping bottles of that water, dabbing on that fast food. Pulling veggies out the garden, I go hard, I eat good, and I put that on my mama. Eating healthy school lunch, and that's where the Miss Obama. Drinking water, living longer, no processed drama. Call me.
Yeah, he said he over there selling greens. He was like, yeah, eating healthier, living longer. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to these young brothers, because I know people sleep, but that's real good for these young brothers to be, talking about that at such a young age, you know what I'm saying? And they still rapping. So hopefully they be the next trendsetters when it comes to like the music stuff. Um, and I want to show this one more time, right? I don't know if I showed this already, but after I show this, the rest of this will make sense, right? So the model on the left is Museum of Confluences in France that depicts a Neanderthal woman. And here you have a live Neanderthal woman here, or that's what they say. They call a woman, but real quick though, I want to show you this, just about what's going on in the schools real quick.
Y'all, they are requiring parents sign permission slips to determine if they're okay if their child hears a book that was written by a Black person. At Miami-Dade County Public Schools, they are requiring you to sign a permission slip to determine if you're okay with your child hearing a book that was written by a Black person. Read aloud, students will participate and listen to a book written by an African American. In 2024. 2024. How is this okay? Is it okay if your child hears a book written by a Black? Y'all don't want our kids to get the proper education. You're rewriting history. You're not even caring about their safety while they're in school. Let's make sure we keep them away from the scary Black people.
All right, so you see, this young sister, but I mean, like y'all already know what I was gonna say. So shouts out to the independent Black schools that's out here. But check this out, right? So this is what's going on in other parts of the country, you know what I'm saying, where they selling black students off.
And right now at 6, parents and students in Southwick talking to us after their first day back to class after those allegations of racially charged bullying at the regional high school. Claims that some students endured an online auction where white students could bid on their black classmates.
Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days is live in Southwick tonight with more. And Wesley, school leaders spent much of the day talking to students.
They did, Abby and Chris. Assemblies and conversations went on throughout the day with the 6 different grades at Southwick Regional Schools. They talked about a variety of different things, including those incidents and how students could grow after incidents like these took place. Now, one student, I should mention, reached out to our newsroom after our 4 o'clock broadcast on ABC 40 and said that those assemblies that I was just speaking about were insultingly brief.
Now, if you didn't know, like, they had this thing where they was pretty much the white students was mocking selling the black students, you know, like slaves or something, you know what I mean? Yo, what's going on, Raw? Shouts out to Raw in the building. But yeah, so the parents, so pretty much they're mad about that because they was selling them, selling them, you know. Yeah, we should have a permission slip to learn if, like, Christopher Columbus, the quote unquote, discovered America. Like, yeah, would you like your child to learn this? Absolutely not. You know. So we definitely need a permission slip. But
I'm really grateful that they stepped up to the plate with all of this.
Class is back in session in Southwick after a week-long vacation for students and a week of allegations of racial bullying at the regional school. Just days ago, Allison Lopez came forward with claims that her 13-year-old daughter, a student at Southwick Regional School, faced derogatory remarks in an online slave auction where white students could bid on their black classmates.
It was called Black Lives RAL, something like that. I guess L is for lower class or low. But it was $2 to $4 a bid.
Southwick officials say they investigated those claims, but did not reveal how many students were involved or how they would be punished.
My son personally, he didn't understand at first about it, and me and his father, we had to clarify basically what happened.
She was like, well, see, honey, when we used to have those N-words, we used to sell them, it wasn't for $2 or $3 though, honey. In the good old days, that's what she kind of resembled that Neanderthal chick earlier.
Western Mass News was at the pickup line as Southwick students and parents left the regional school on Monday after students met with district and school leaders to discuss those incidents.
Just an assembly, and they met with each grade individually and just talked about what we can do as a school moving forward and how.
Oh yeah, so by the way, they was like, yeah, we're not going to name the students. We're not really going to do anything to them. There's no punishment or anything. They're just having a assembly to be like, okay, well, black children, this is what you're gonna have to deal with. So how could you, deal with this more comfortably? Matrix said she lying. Sounds like she on drugs. It do. She looks real high right there. You know how that meth does, though.
Pickup line as Southwick students and parents left the regional school on Monday after students met with district and school leaders to discuss those incidents.
Just an assembly, and they met with each grade individually and just talked about what we can do as a school moving forward and how to change our impact online and in the hallways and make ourselves a better example.
And do you feel like it was impactful?
I think to an extent. I think there were definitely some kids that didn't take it as seriously, but for the kids that really paid attention and listened, I think it can be.
Parents say assemblies like these can help students understand what happened and drive home an important message.
It doesn't matter what skin color you have, everyone should be equal.
Yeah, she definitely on the map. I didn't even have the right one because I wanted the brother to say something about this. I don't know which one it was. Maybe this one. His brother. And I don't want, because I want to go on to the next thing. I hope.
Mass News.
I hope this is
held an
it.
online slave auction to bid on their black classmates. And Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days was with more details.
We want the school district to take the allegations seriously.
Weeks into a month where we're supposed to be
this-
celebrating
the
Black history,
NAACP.
Western Mass News received reports of possible racially charged discrimination against Black Southwick Regional High School students. We spoke with the Greater Springfield NAACP president, Bishop Talbert Swan, about the alleged incidents that included white students holding an online slave auction, as well as use of derogatory racial remarks against a Black female student.
In 2024, for that type of behavior to be going on among teenagers.
He said it's 2024. Like, you could tell what year it is by how surprised we are, I guess. Like, it's 2020, it's 1992. I can't believe it's, you know what I'm saying, a crack epidemic going on. I can't believe what's going on here. We can tell what year it is by how surprised we are this still exists.
Type of behavior to be going on among teenagers lets us know that we've got a myriad of problems. One of them being the fact that racism is being passed down from generation to generation.
What? You kidding me? I wonder how many generations it took him to figure that out. How many generations is like 400? You know, that's just the short end. It's being passed down from generation. You don't say. He must have went to a rocket science class overnight or something.
It's being passed down from generation to generation.
The local NAACP branch sent a letter to the school district leaders, including the principal of the high school and Jennifer Willard, the superintendent of the Southwick Tolland Granville Regional School District, to demand an investigation into these alleged incidents of racial bullying.
We want them to be more concerned about the well-being and the safeguarding of the student than its reputation. This is time for course correction and not for CYA behavior.
These allegations aren't the first time the district has run into problems. In 2022, we reported on racial vandalism in one of the men's bathrooms at the school. At the time, in an email to parents.
But you know, they'd be like, we made it if we be out there in one of them counties. And these are the schools that, and you can ask the people that went to schools like that. And I'm not saying like the schools in the city is like good or anything, you know what I'm saying? But that's the atmosphere that you put them in when you put them in these schools, because these is your local suburb schools, you know what I'm saying? When you be like, yeah, I'm out the black, I ain't living around them N-words. These the schools that your children are going to, you know what I'm saying? And instead of doing anything about it, we just like, we're not going to name them, we're not going to punish them, we're just going to tell your children how to, I don't know, handle it better. Like, I guess they're telling them, like, when you see them, put your eyes down and crawl, get on the other side of the hallway or something. I don't know what they're telling them these days.
Men's bathrooms at the school. At the time, in an email to parents, the principal called it one of the most disrespectful and hateful acts that he witnessed on campus. And as history seems to repeat itself, Bishop Swan says it's time to take action.
The dignity of every human being should take place 12 months out of the year. But we do put a special emphasis on the month of February, Erica.
And oh yes, he was like, yeah, trying to tell us to separate. Yeah, everything is saying separate. We're supposed to forget and let them live, but forgetting is exactly how we think continues to happen. Exactly, you know. We're supposed to forget, and then we like, oh damn, it's 2022. I can't believe it. Or 20. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what year it is no more. It's 1824. But yeah, that's exactly how it keep happening. That's why they need you to be like not woke. You know what I'm saying? You know how they be on that. Well, yeah, we need you to be ignorant so we can continue to, you know what I'm saying, rape and pillage you. And we just sitting here on the news looking crazy.
Emphasis on the month of February, Erica. And to have to deal with young men engaging in this type of racist, disrespectful behavior during this time is reprehensible.
We're also hearing from the Hampden County.
Reprehensible. Yeah, they like getting their rock. That's just how they get their rocks off. You know what I'm saying? Like I showed you, like that picture explained everything. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that it's the baby Neanderthals. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it's passed down from generation. I know who ain't passing it down from generation to generation. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. All right. yeah, never forget, as the Shysters would say. But I'll be glad if we can remember. Now, let me show you this, right? Damn. Now, I don't know if y'all saw this with Kamala Harris. Now, she done had, you know, this is what you get for like the black people with them, you know. And she was like, yeah, we're going to go, speaking of HBCUs, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have, I guess they're going to go to the outhouse of the White House. I don't know. That might be what it is. The slave quarters. I have black people.
Is to remember the struggles of those who came before us. Is to remember the struggles of those who came before us.
Y'all, I'm at the VP house. They playing Sexy Red.
All right. So you see, let me see, another one. I think this is. Yo, what up, my brother Anthony? No, yeah, this is the same one. This is the same one. What up, my brother? I don't know where the other one was. This dude was pretty. I'll let this white dude say. I know he's gonna say what a lot of y'all want to say.
And,
I know y'all wonder where y'all get these things from.
Sexy Red. I'm pretty sure. Wow, the Sexy Red. I'm pretty sure she said.
Yeah, what up? We not just black in February. Yeah. Well, you know, it's a special time, I guess. Who came before her? What do you mean, matron?
That she was going to vote for Donald Trump.
Let me see.
That video.
Looking in, yeah, money talk. Oh my God, look at her butt.
And then the fact that they in there, like, even saying, like, Becky, look at her butt, you know what I'm saying, in the White House, you know, turned up, I guess.
Oh my God, look at her butt.
This event means to me, it's put everything into perspective. It shows me everything is possible. My vice president is black. What you mean I can't do it?
She's black again, y'all. Well, y'all do say that they can be black. I know matron. It's y'all's sister, matron. She's black. Oh yeah.
Everything is possible. My vice president is black. What you mean I can't do it?
When I look out at this group of leaders, I know that the future of our country is bright. Our nation needs you, and I look forward to your continuing leadership.
And you know what? And you like I'm gonna show that in a minute. So I guess I'll say it.
Welcome to the house party at VP.
Get an HBCU house party, y'all. Turned up.
Being here at Vice President Harris's home tonight was an absolute honor. The embodiment of Black excellence in the room was overwhelming, and I'm just so honored.
Coming to an event like this is just gratifying. I mean, when you really choose God and put Him first in all that you do, He will just open up many doors for you. And you seek Him first, all will be added unto you. And so I'm blessed to be a part of this event.
I am so excited to be here, like to be in the home of the first African-American female vice president of the United States means everything to me. And I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
What you mean? He's like, Kamala has no standing. She has been passing for black for a long. Well, you know, she has African ancestry. That's what people say and try to fit them in. And it's really an imposter. This we heifer ain't black at all. But, you know, there are those who say, oh, East Indians are black. But that's not here nor there. But anyway.
Do these people not know President Barack Obama? He's black. He was the first black president. That's a lot better than a vice. We got a black female president. That means I can do it too. What is this ridiculous? This is just ridiculous talk. This is small-minded talk. And I can't help but to think, man, people would be going crazy if Trump had a white college student-only party. And students were saying, you know, he's
like,
white, I'm white, we can do it.
Like
this is all
Harvard
division.
Party, I guess.
All right. To have a black-only party at the vice president's residency pushes nothing but division. What do you guys think? It looks like the Biden administration is trying to do everything and anything to try to get votes. But remember, like Kanye West said, getting off the Democratic.
Oh, yeah. Now Kanye West is a hero in this one instance. And yeah, they playing the Sexy Red up in the White House, I guess, or the outhouse of the White House. I ain't look like they was, if they was in that back house, I don't know where that is, you know, because that wasn't the White House. Barack Obama ain't black either, you know. All facts.
Like plantation. It looks like people are waking up. And, well, these college kids, well, talk about privilege. Look at the college they're going to. It costs a lot of money. A lot of money. You know, there is one kind of privilege I see on the rise in the USA, and it's black privilege. As we see, crime is out the roof. And anyway, I listen, black president, you got black people in all different offices of power throughout the United States in big corporate positions. Listen, we got to stop with this saying one group is getting treated unfair than the other group. No, in the USA, it's the best country in the world. Everybody gets.
Now he's saying this while saying we get treating unfair, like, you know what I'm saying, it's not fair that you don't treat. We got to stop saying this as he's saying. But like I said, it's nothing to explain, because like that Neanderthal picture I showed earlier explains it all. It's the male version, you know. I think, you know. They only reach out when they need something from black folks. Other than that, you can't give them a check, can't give them nothing but come begging. Or they give them a party. They say happy birthday to George Floyd one time. Until they start taking seriously the reparations conversation, then they are talking to the black masses. Yeah, then they aren't talking to the black masses. Oh, man. That class is going to be going out there, you know what I'm saying? That you know what I'm saying? A lot of them are kind of retiring. This is so disrespectful. Did she give them reparations or something for them to be excited? She let them come in the house where some white people once were. Two spirits in one body. That's all. That's all I can say.
It's treated equally. And when you really understand that, and you understand a certain group that has more privilege than others, and that group doesn't look like me, then you'll start to understand the reality of what's going on.
Wait till we see what's about to.
And how this administration is doing nothing but dividing the people. And everything they say Trump's doing, they're doing. Anyway.
Wait till you see.
Listening to Sexy Red, doing all this stuff at the vice president's residence, kind of just shows you how the whole mockery of everything. Xavier Briggs, huh?
There you go.
Now that he's at the vice president's house, he believes he can do anything. It took him going to her residence for him to believe in himself.
Ain't that something? A Neanderthal boy said it, so you might listen. I'll let him say that again.
He believes he can do anything.
It's because you in a place where a redneck wants.
It took him going to her residence for him to believe in himself.
Wow.
Man, I feel bad for that guy. Ugh.
Wow, he's crying though. But that's interesting, right? That is interesting. Damn, I didn't even put it in the right way. Yeah, so speaking of that, because you
building your online business?
My bad. I got it backwards, y'all, so it is what it is. But yeah, speaking of that, they was like, also
Alabama
this
state
march
troopers
in
attacked
Selma.
hundreds of black voting rights activists as they marched peacefully across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. Just hours ago, Vice President Kamala Harris joined a march across that same bridge to commemorate what's come to be known as Bloody Sunday.
Bloody
They
Sunday.
knew violence against them was inevitable, and they returned to this bridge while many were still bound in bandages because they knew what was on the other side. A promise of a future that was more equal, more just, and more free.
And then he was like, damn, I done messed up. I shouldn't even have thought this way. And then he was like, man, let's just go get our reparations check. That's what he said at the end, you know. And he was like, damn, you know, I was tripping. This building is on fire. And then he was like, you know, they left out that part. So I just had to add it.
Joining us now, Mark Morial is former New Orleans mayor and president of the National Urban League, and Derek Johnson is president and CEO of the N.
No, that's irrelevant what these fools talking
voting
about.
restrictions after the 2020 elections, based in part on Donald Trump's false claims of
All
election
right, hold
fraud.
on one
You
second,
met with
y'all. I'm going to let
Harris
it
at
play
the White
for 1
House
second.
last week.
Give me 1 second.
Do you still find moments like this notable, and is the fight still on, in effect?
Well, it's a sobering moment. We met with the vice president earlier this week. We're commemorating the 59th year of the March for Bloody Sunday, and yet we are in the midst of 8 lawsuits across the country to protect the rights of voters. We just won the lawsuit right there in Alabama to ensure African Americans in that state could elect a candidate of choice in a second congressional district. So it's both what we call a Sankofa moment. We are still dealing with the past as we exist in this present, as we fight towards a future that's more inclusive of all communities.
Let me ask you this, Mark, because as you know, you've seen the polls too, the groups of Democratic voters who supported President Biden in 2020 are not as unified behind him, including African-American voters. Do you consider that notable?
She's supposed to be a sister. She's supposed to be a sister, or you know, some people let anybody in. But now she's a black woman. Now you know what I'm saying. When she go back, you know, to being the first East Indian president ever, you know what I'm saying, after the election. Now she's black.
Sizable, and could it be decisive?
I think early polls don't matter. I think the election day is what counts.
I guess I missed what
we call a Sankofa moment. We are still dealing with the past as we exist in this present,
Lord
as
have
we
mercy.
fight towards a future that's more inclusive of all communities.
Let me ask you this.
On the president
Love everybody.
are on steroids when it comes to the effort to strip.
Red. Derek, at a rally in North Carolina last night, Donald Trump.
Now, this is the thing now, Cassandra, you remember the brother down in North Carolina, right? You know, the brother that won. I want you to hear what this fool is talking about.
Last night, Donald Trump, he referenced the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who's currently the frontrunner to be the GOP nominee for North
He
Carolina.
said, yeah, I missed it. I walked away for a second. I wanted to say something about it, but I didn't want to go backwards. Yeah, he probably is. He probably in a nursing home. Or if he don't fall down the stairs, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, his rendering of Sankofa is convoluted. Yeah. It's paid off, you know what I'm saying? They paid him to soften it up a little bit. But anyway, I don't know if you remember this, John. Speaking of, you know, MLK and all of that.
Mark, we should note, is Black has a history, though, of derogatory comments about Muslims and members of the LGBTQ community. I want to play for our viewers who haven't heard this how Trump described him and get your reaction. Have a listen.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids. Okay, now I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King times 2.
Now, if you don't know who this dude is, right? This is the dude who said this. No, hold on. See, I don't even got it right. I ain't even got it right, so here we go. This is the dude who said this.
Save big this week.
In this country, they wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes.
Whoa.
Why do
See,
you?
I don't want to use this. It is joke. I don't know.
There are some people that were talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes.
Wow. What's up, everyone?
He says you who owes for slavery. But anyway, this is what Donald Trump said about him.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids. Okay, now I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2. And he looked at me, and I wasn't sure, was he angry because that's a terrible thing to say, or was he complimented? I have never figured it out.
No. Now, he was confused because check this out. This is what this fool has said about Martin Luther King.
Controversy, leading Republican.
So it probably was a diss to him because this is what he think about Martin Luther King.
Outed in controversy, leading Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson is back in the hot seat after regularly criticizing Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement for years on Facebook. In an alleged unearthed Facebook post, Robinson called the civil rights movement, quote, crap. Chief legal analyst Khalif Rhodes joins us now. And Khalif, I want to go through the exact quote from 2017. It states, African Americans don't realize that the real civil rights movement started in the 1860s. That crap in the 1960s was the communist rise movement, obviously comparing the two big civil rights movement. But as a black man making these comments, what do you think? What do you read into that?
Well, what I can say is this is all before he became the elected official that we know him to be today. But I can say that we are in the era where those types of comments are things that help folks get elected. Because if you think that was an isolated one-off event, you'd be wrong. Because in his book, he doubled down and said, yes, I made those comments. Everything that I felt and believed at that time when I first created my Facebook page, I wanted to put it on out there on social media so people could hear it. I just think that this is an era that is rewarding folks for saying what they believe and what they speak, and not holding back. And folks are saying that that's them being genuine as opposed to them saying what's politically correct. You see it in the former President Trump being elected to the highest office in the land. And so he coins himself and looks at himself as someone that is more Trump than Trump. And so I put that comment right in line with something that I would expect for him to say.
And he's really making these comments now as he's trying to kind of resurface and kind of soften the rhetoric. I mean, would you agree? And I also want to be able to point, obviously, viewers who are watching right now, I mean, you can't know what's inside his mind, of course, but in terms of legally, is there any kind of like gray area here that we should be concerned about?
So Trump called him Martin Luther King on crack, on steroids, or whatever the hell drugs they take, right? And this dude here don't even like Martin Luther King. He sit there and make a career out of saying that the civil rights movement was crap, and you know what I'm saying? He would have been upset. He would not have attended the Selma March this weekend or whenever they did it. But so it was a diss to him, calling him Martin Luther King. Ain't that something?
Well, what I can say is I can't look inside of his mind, but I can just look at it politically. This tracks online to what he would say and what he has said in the past. He made the comments about Israel and he got pushback. And so what did he do? He rolled back those comments slightly. Then he went to Israel. So then I can turn a negative into a positive. That is political politics 101 in terms of taking something that folks throw at you as a negative comment and making it a positive statement. And that's what he has done. I don't see him doing that here because in the past, as an African-American, he said, I am not an African-American. He's went on record of saying that before. And so he has a history of making comments on the negative side at Martin Luther King's legacy. He had a history of making comments about the civil rights movement in terms of it being something that was a waste of time. And so these are comments that he has.
He has a history of disrespecting Martin Luther King. He said, I ain't black. He was like, thank God for slavery. Otherwise, we'd be in Africa praying to a tree. He said a lot of things, you know. But most importantly, he was like, he was a communist. So I guess he's a communist on steroids. I don't know.
Has not attempted to roll back because he has not seen any blowback from it.
Well, one thing I do know, you know politics and you know the law. So I guess my question for you too is kind of piggybacking on that concept there. Does it work when you then go to Israel and you take these comments back and you all of a sudden say, well, hey, let's bring
He's like, I'm sorry, Israel. My bad. Well, he ain't taking back what Martin Luther King.
I think it does work when you have an opportunity to turn a negative into a positive, for sure. I will say that election because the majority of the folks that are election when you get to November because the African American.
So I guess this is
Martin Luther King on steroids. Okay, now I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2. And he looked at me and I wasn't sure, was he angry because that's a terrible thing to say, or was he complimented? I have never.
He was angry. But check it out though. So I got a crazy lieutenant governor, something Wisdom Seals or whatever her name is. But they also have one because this is North Carolina's new lieutenant governor now. He just won this race here, you know, yesterday or whatever. I don't know. But I don't know who he's running against. So it's, you know, pick your poison, you know what I'm saying? Die by the, you know, them or die by that. Because it was something else I wanted you to see. But yo, so yeah, this dude.
Mark Robinson held his watch party. Angela and Rod, this was a decisive victory for Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. The race was called within an hour of the polls closing, and Robinson and his supporters are now looking toward November. Robinson grew up here in Greensboro, and he spoke about his childhood here, referencing poverty and his work experience as he turned the focus toward the economy. His prior comments about the LGBTQ community and his goal of limiting abortion access have some people concerned he'll have a hard time winning over undecided or moderate voters.
Yo, they don't even have their own, like, why are they even doing, like, for, like, the money, though? Like, how much money could it possibly be that they're getting? Like, they're going to be, like, set for, like, their, like, that money is not generational. We know that. But, like, how much money do you get just to repeat their talk? Like, do you get to slide in one of yours every now and then? It's literally, he has to do everything that they tell him to do. Like, how much money do you get from that? I'm curious. Like, that's crazy. Like, why would you do that?
Winning over undecided or moderate voters. But in tonight's speech, he repeatedly referenced the economy and said he'd focus on issues that affect all North Carolinians. He also talked about making history as the first black lieutenant governor of North Carolina, with the potential to be the first black governor if he wins in November.
This state has been doggone good to me. And now it is time for me to repay the debt of gratitude that I have.
When you be like, yo, you've been doggone good to me, you already know what that's about.
Repay the debt of gratitude. This state has been doggone good to me. And now it is time for me to repay the debt of gratitude that I have to this great state and its people.
Now, State Treasurer Dale Folwell, who Robinson on his
Damn, so consider with him down there, you might got to pay them. You might got to pay the Neanderthals some reparations to look going by what this fool talking
Some
about.
people that were talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes.
It wouldn't be funny if this dude so you might have to pay them reparations considering this fool up there now. What's going on, Blogger? Yeah, I don't know. But then you have this though, because then like the Democrat people are like kind of worried and stuff like this. I'm gonna skip through some of this, all right? But I was just kind of funny because like if the Democrats lose, you already know that. Like I heard somebody saying, well, they're gonna blame black men, if the Democrats. Well, good, you know what I'm saying? Like like let them know, like what I'm saying. Well, yeah, it's your fault. That you're damn right, you know what I'm saying, if that's the case. But anyway, some of these,
I don't think it's real. And I don't know if anybody else would disagree with me at this table. I do think that they're two different.
Bakari sellers, you know what I'm saying, and his father was a G, But this is Bakari sellers here.
Things that could be true at the same time. One is that the Democratic Party has for a very long period of time
YouTube always be
Black
hating
voters for
on this
granted.
channel.
And there is a question right now about the energy that is behind Joe Biden from Black voters and supporting him in November. That is true. What's also true and can be said is that Donald Trump is a racist who utilizes racism as a political currency. I can remember going back in studio in 2016 when Jake Tapper was interviewing him about David Duke, and he acted like he didn't know who David Duke was on the eve of the Mississippi primary.
He was Joe Biden's boy. That's who he was. Both of their boys, but they all know who he is.
Mary, the fact that he keeps, and even Lindsey Graham said it tonight that Black Americans have a propensity to commit crimes, etc., to hypersexualize us, to hypercriminalize us, to keep falling into these tropes. That is the type of racism that plays to the base of his party. He says these things to Black voters to their faces, the ones who are ignorant enough to be in that room, not talking to them. That's what people miss. Donald Trump is not talking to Black voters when he goes down these tropes. He's actually talking to white voters and to his base to churn them up and build in a lot of the resentment that we see.
Well, we know that the Democrats have a Black woman as the vice president who throw parties playing Sexy Red in there. So we have that over them, I guess.
One of the things that we see that are going on in this country about people who are coming out is because there's some fear that they're being replaced either by Black or brown voters. And when you see him talking down to Black folk in their face, there is a large swath of the American public who says, I like the way that sounds. And that's the currency that he uses. So I think two things can be true. The Democratic Party has been laying on their asses for too long when it comes to Black voters. That is true. You're seeing that catch up with them. And Donald Trump's a racist.
Yeah, but what explains, I mean, I don't, far be it from me to explain, African-American voting, right? What explains his rise in popularity? And every poll you see, something has to account for that, right?
Well,
I don't know about that.
A couple things. First of all, everything that you just said is correct, which is why the vast majority of Black people, male, female, every category, are going to vote against Donald Trump again.
Correct.
So that's the big.
If the party left out, if they vote at all, you know what I'm saying? He gonna be crying whatever way it go, I guess.
Rock, but there is this margin that's beginning to waver and beginning to move, which is what you're talking about. And I think that there are some people. Look, I mean, when he holds up the sneakers and does that stuff, I mean, Trump, that stuff is horrifying to anybody with good sense. But where's the motion coming from? I think there's some frustration in the Democratic Party that you're talking about, Bakari, that we've been taking for granted. That some of our issues didn't get taken seriously enough this time around, whether it's voting rights, whether it's police reform, et cetera. And there's some fatigue. And so, and I think you're starting to see that. I think there is this.
I know most Black people have been talk about like reparations and like police. I don't agree with the police. I'm like, yo, like no, like we shouldn't be getting like for real. It's an insult for them to be. I saw somebody say it's an insult for them to be. I think Terrence Howard said that or something, but I've been saying that like it's no way in hell they should be taking tax money from us at all. But that's like us paying a fee. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know that fee that you have to pay when you lose a war. You know.
Weird nostalgia that is about, well, under Trump, the pre-COVID, the economy was better. We got some criminal justice reform, and some of the stimulus support was.
Let me just look at poll numbers for 2000, going back to 2000.
In general, are trending more.
So they're saying black male
Can I put it out there
support.
that it says
It's gone continually away from
black male support. And one thing we're not acknowledging is the growing gender divide that is happening across the board with partisanship, that men in general are trending more Republican, women in general, about Latino men, et cetera.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And the other thing is we do have a tendency to blow up this particular dialogue, which has been around for a very long time. There have always been black conservatives, and they've always made a very similar argument, which is that the Democratic Party takes you for granted. I actually don't hear anything all that new in this, but I understand what you're saying about optics, which I think is important to show that I'm out here just saying whatever, I'm not worried.
Hold on, because they said happy birthday. They gave you Juneteenth. They said happy birthday to George Floyd. They had a party one time. They had a party the other day for you. They had the they had the Juneteenth, and they had to throw in the gay stuff with the Juneteenth, you know what I'm saying, just to put that in there, But what else did they do? They said I'm not sure. I think that was it.
About microaggressions or wokeism or any of that stuff. I'm out here telling the truth. There could be lots of reasons why people might want to wear a Trump mugshot shirt. It doesn't necessarily mean the Trump curious are not the Trump committed, and that's just something to consider. Be realistic. But let's be realistic about what we're talking about. We're not talking about people just straight up waltzing over to Trump. We're talking about people who decide, I don't care enough about this election because I don't think either candidate will materially change my life. That is where the Trump curious becomes more important.
That's the frustration that I have, because Joe Biden has done a great deal for people of color in this country.
You see how it was black everything, black this. Now all of a sudden he has done a great deal for people of color in this country. And this is what frustrates me, because these damn N-words is gonna get me out of my damn job if they don't vote for this man.
That's the frustration that I have, because Joe Biden has done a great deal for people of color in this country.
It was all Negro.
And the disconnect is the
now.
messaging around the successes that he's had. And the fact that they're not actually out there, and they're trying to now, and they're getting around to that.
I just want to say one quick thing, and I know others want to get in. One of the great achievements, I think, of progressive black leadership has been to hold the black and brown communities together despite immigration. And that is beginning to erode. In other words, there was
he was like one of the black leaders. One of their job was to keep you under the black and brown thing. But of course, Biden said, America is doomed, not just because of the African Americans, but because of the West Arabs,
In the 90s, especially in California, there's an attempt to pit black and brown together, saying the immigrants are taking black jobs in particular. And we beat that back. We said we're not going to let this economic argument put us in the camp, what we think is basically a fundamentally racist attempt to push brown people down and to create brown second-class citizens. And I think that was a huge achievement. And people now take it for granted.
Yeah, went all the way to brown
together. Because of what's happened, it's very important. Because of these Republican governors shipping immigrants into blue cities, and they're landing in black communities and in places like New York and other places, black students are not able to go to schools and use facilities sometimes because this artificially manufactured conflict between black and brown folks at the grassroots level.
Hold on a second. Shipped by Republican governors. Most of them are not transplanted as photo ops.
We can argue about, but we can argue about. But
I can tell you all the Marias and Gomez's at these jobs ain't no damn photoshopped or whatever the hell he said.
I think it's important now because the Obama coalition, and which you know more about than anybody else, and the Biden coalition assumed certain groups would stay together. And you are seeing some of that beginning to fray. We should be able to talk about it.
Can I say one thing on this quickly? Because when I was with Donald Trump, I remember he engaged in some of this very pandering language. I'd say offensive pandering is putting it too lightly. He called something the Platinum Plan that was targeting the Black community. That is certainly not why he's seeing some movement with Black voters. I think what we're seeing is far more a reality of this shift of more the working class voter, more of the old Clinton demographic going toward. I think it probably has.
Oh yeah, because the white bitch knows everything, right? Anyway,
of whether or not you're interested.
Speaking of that, right? Did y'all see this here? You know, Seattle, the migrants are protesting because they like, okay, we want now. I know why. You know, I know somebody in Seattle.
City Council disrupted
I ain't
as
seen them in
asylum
years,
seekers
but, you
and
know,
their
I
supporters.
knew somebody in
once again,
Seattle.
Seattle City Council disrupted as asylum seekers and their supporters once again pleaded for support. Council President Sarah Nelson saying there are limited resources here.
I don't really want to participate in a conversation that should be had with county leaders, state leaders, federal leaders.
Council ultimately took a break from the meeting in the middle of chants from protesters yelling on behalf of the refugees. At one point, Councilmember Kathy Moore requested that SPD take action.
I request that we have police response. Our physical safety is being threatened by the actions of the demonstrators outside banging.
So he said the Mexicans or wherever is threatening. Well, I guess it's a white bitch safety. So I don't know. They still ain't do nothing, but they're saying, yeah, we want more resources. Damn it.
On the windows.
Eventually, arrests were made. It's the second time in 2 months that the group from Latin America has called upon Seattle leaders to fund their temporary housing. Refugees have been living in different area hotels, most recently this one in Kent. That stay was funded by Seattle taxpayers. Genesis from Venezuela said she knows this protest wasn't the most correct thing to do, but they've got kids. They feel pressure.
She knows it wasn't the most correct thing to do, but they have kids. Yeah, so do I. If they want to give their stuff to them, fine. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want my stuff to go to them, the Ukrainians, the shysters, the Palestinians, you know what I'm saying? I only want it for me and I'm hungry right now, so I'd rather it go to me and mine.
Genesis from Venezuela said she knows this protest wasn't the most correct thing to do.
Yeah, they went to
but
the
they've got
people of
kids.
color real
They feel
quick.
pressured to act for
People
them.
of color here.
And there's hesitation from them to go back here, Riverton Park United Methodist Church in Tukwila. The migrants have said there are inhumane, dirty conditions here, but Pastor Jan Bolerjack said a new heated large tent will house 100 people at the church.
I hope it's a temporary solution because the state and other municipalities should be stepping up. And
Yeah, you should be kicking that money. I don't know. Maybe y'all can invite them to live in your house or something. I don't know.
For all you ums and ah speakers out there.
My bad.
More money for housing in other King County cities showed up, calling on the city to provide more money for housing in other King County cities. At one point, City Council asked security to clear the room.
Our physical safety is being threatened by the actions of the demonstrators outside banging on the windows, which could easily get broken, and we will have a mob scene.
No action was taken at the Seattle city level, but there is new funding coming in for asylum seekers. King 5's Drew Andre has the details of that update in Tukwila.
The city of Tukwila is funding a large heated tent for the people that are living outside here at Riverton Park Church. It will be able to hold about 100 people total.
Yeah, so more resources is coming. Now, I found this one interesting, right? Speaking of, because another thing they did was the Asian joint, and you know who they targeting, right? I want you to see this.
This video shows one of the crimes that were part of a frightening spree last year across South Seattle. Tonight, 2 men accused of taking part in these robberies now face hate crime charges. Thursday, King County prosecutors charged Javez Tubbs and DeMarcus Pate. say the two targeted Asian households and in some cases forced their way in while identifying themselves as Seattle police.
We looked at what police sent to us and we thought pretty clearly that we could file those additional charges in these new cases of a hate crime and assault.
So you see that. So clearly we can do this and find this, so that clearly they can be like, okay, well, this is a hate crime. They can clearly see or whatever, quote unquote, this is. And I don't know if they was like saying because they was Asians, because, anyway. But I just wanted you to see that they clearly do this. But I wanted to play this. Now I had this
Asian American business.
I had a whole nother thing too, but I ain't gonna play that. I'm gonna skip it, all right. But she's definitely gonna be welcome to but I'm gonna let this Denisovan girl tell you this. And so it'll be all right for you to do it, because you won't listen to me.
Businesses have been operating in Black communities for 60 years. I'll say it again. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and the United States opened the door to Asian immigration in 1965 to put immigrants in the way of Black people. And this idea that the tension between business owners and customers is one of mutual cultural misunderstanding that could be overcome if they just got to know each other better, the time for that has long passed. And as I've said before,
and I need for somebody else's, because I was going to show another thing, you know what I'm saying? And damn, you'll welcome everybody to the damn cookout so freaking fast, but that's a whole nother topic. All right. But especially this, I know a lot of look, y'all have the people that bother y'all, and I have the people that bother me. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of those people of color brothers, but this is not about him. It's about what this Denisovan chick who's probably gonna be at the barbecue is talking about.
That has long passed. And as I've said before, the problem with framing the misunderstanding as mutual is where one demographic owns the businesses and the other demographic has to pay. There's no mutuality. There is a power imbalance. The only situation that I could see being beneficial at this point would require Asian Americans to be willing to leverage their ability to secure the business loans, to secure supplier accounts, and to attain business.
In other words, it ain't no coalition if they ain't kicking up nothing. You know what I'm saying? The shysters ain't got nothing to say unless they kicking up reparations money. The Asians and all these other people that open up stores, they ain't got nothing to say unless they kicking up money, right? They damn the friends, you know what I'm saying? I don't have nothing to say to you unless you're ready to kick up some of them funds first. You know what I'm saying? In other words, but I'll let her finish telling you.
Business licenses to open in Black communities, specifically to hire Black people to work in the businesses and to provide the professional development opportunities so that Black people can become the leadership in the businesses in their communities. But I don't have a lot of hope that Asian Americans are willing to do that, because the Asian American business owners that we
It's time. All right, and she's talking about, but I'm talking about the East Indians. I'm talking about the Arabs, the Palestinians.
Willing to treat their Black customers as human. So I fully support Black people boycotting these problematic businesses in their community. And I want to say that I think another thing that non-Black people aren't aware of is that it is not as simple as boycotting the businesses and putting them out of business and then opening your own to compete. Because the system will find ways to still not give them the loans or rezone them so they can't open a business or not grant the business licenses. And suppliers are literally conspiring.
Oh, yeah, well, that's all right, because you can not go and put them out of business. And then we can, you know what, when they did the bus thing, they didn't like, yo, let me go get a grant for a bus. You know what I'm saying? They're like, okay, I'll put the money in your pocket. You do this for me. I'll put this money in your pocket and you do that for me, right? You can clearly go do that. Or today, you know, go to the Black stores that exist. So whatever she's talking about here, don't even listen to this nonsense. You know what I'm saying? That's Denisovan talk, you know.
against Black people who have managed to open a business in their own community to not supply to them because they don't want Black people competing with the Asian American owned businesses in the community. So I wish that I had more to offer in the way of solutions.
It's a great question, you know. How are they here complaining? You know?
But I really don't. But please do not gaslight Black people with respect to what the issue is.
All right. So she told you to don't go to their damn stores no more. So y'all cannot do that. All right. And like I said, this explains it all. I want to do this real quick before I go. Real quick. This is the last thing. All right, I promise, you know. I want to play this here. Now this is old, but it goes with the last thing I'm gonna show.
So I suggested to some of the European countries a simple partnership. We form consortiums.
They form consortiums, right? A simple partnership, right? So that we can do these things. Now this was old, you know.
Some of the European countries, a simple partnership. We form consortiums to deal with individual countries, help them with their economy, help them with their security. The Islamist movements in Africa are not yet strong. They can be
yeah, you know how they be with that lazy stuff. Right, but he's like, oh well, the Islamic. Well, by the way, the Islamic beat them there by like 1,000 years, damn near. So I don't know what he's talking about, but he was like, yeah, they beat us there. You know what I'm saying? We want to beat the Muslims there, who's there genociding them. You know what I'm saying? We want to beat them there, so we're gonna work together with the other Europeans. I wonder why, you know, they work with the other Europeans as opposed to the other Semitic people. I mean, could it be because, you know, they're just more Europeans, you know what I'm saying, more Neanderthals, right? It goes back to this, you know what I'm saying? It explains everything, right?
help them with their security. The Islamist movements in Africa are not yet strong. They can be defeated today. They can be defeated today. It'll be a lot harder tomorrow. And my point is, in addition to the battle of ideas, there's the battle. You have to win the battle. And the earlier you win it, the cheaper it will be. The longer you wait, eventually these forces will dissipate because there is no hope, there is no future for a world of darkness. Oh.
All right, so he was like, yeah, the faster you win the war, the cheaper it'll be. Like, it is expensive after like 700 years, let me tell you, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I wanted to play this, right? Because I don't agree with this, what the sister say, but I do think this was funny because she left them, like, it was just funny. So I'm just play a little bit of this, and then I'm going to get off here, all right?
Very simply, I'll tell you very simply, you know, I'm a Jewish person. And I do know history. And the fact is, Israel has been attacked since the very founding of the country in 1947, 1948. I think you know that. I'm sure everybody else knows that. Constantly attacked. This is well before settlements, well before anything else. This is the earliest lines of the state. Constantly attacked. No one even talks about it. Bus bombings, terrorist bombings, and the PLO killings at the Munich Olympic. Well, if I can just,
sure,
you can talk or you can let me talk. I mean, I'm trying to express something that's true, and I'm really getting tired. I'll tell you very simply. You know, I'm a Jewish person, and I do know history. And the fact is, Israel has been attacked since the very founding of the country in 1947, 1948. I think you know that. I'm sure everybody else knows that.
I think he's blinking hard because he know he's lying.
Constantly attacked. This is well before settlements, well before anything else. This is the earliest lines of the state. Constantly attacked. No one even talks about it. Bus bombings, terrorist bombings, and the PLO killings at the Munich Olympic. Well, if I can just,
sure,
you can talk or you can let me
Please.
talk. I mean, I'm trying to express something that's true, and I'm really getting tired, frankly, of progressives not having any willingness to open their hearts to a whole nother people's history that I think is really important. And it's this: there are 200.
Yo, he does have the hook nose. He does have the hook nose. It makes sense.
To a whole nother people's history that I think is really important. And it's this: there are 200 Christian majority nations in the entire world. There are 140 Muslim majority nations in the entire world. There is one Jewish majority nation in the entire world. One. And why? Because 6 million of people of my faith, just because we pray from the Old Testament and not the New, were murdered. And my family came to America because they were escaping pogroms because they were being murdered. And now Jewish people are being attacked because they're Jewish. There's one country, Brianna. I don't understand why progressives do not understand that we are the underdog too. We have been for world history. And I think it's high time, frankly. This is really important to me.
Yeah, sure.
This is really important. I don't look like someone who needs any affection or support or protection, probably. I look like a white man, right?
I wonder why. He does look like a white dude. You know, he does look like your typical Nia. Like, look, it's the same, that same big ass hook thing on his nose. Look, it's the same thing. It's crazy. It's almost like that's just like a religion or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why you'd be like, yeah, is there a black Jew? Yeah, it's black Jew. But is there a white one? I don't know. Anyway.
Sure.
This is really important. I don't look like someone who needs any affection or support or protection, probably. I look like a white man, right? Well, let me tell you, people of my faith are being attacked, and they have been for world history, including 6 million of us killed in the Holocaust, including family members of mine, I'm sure. And
Well, because first of all, they got to start pulling themselves up by their, shoestrings or whatever, bootstraps or whatever the hell. All right, because it's been a long time and they're still complaining. Right, everybody knows that there was shysters that put shysters in the oven. You know what I'm saying? We know that. Right? It's like we know about the history of white on white crime. They gotta stop complaining. Right? Hitler he was a Jew. You know what I'm saying? You know how to be like, yo, he was black, he had black ancestry. Well, he had Jewish ancestry. He was right. They got to start pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and stop bringing up the past, right? How else are we going to move forward into the future? You know what I'm saying?
And pogroms that forced my family away. And now we're subject to sickening, vile anti-Semitism every day. One country. All we're saying is one country of the people of our faith to seek refuge in. And if you have one country that now combines millions of Palestinians, there's no more Jewish country in the world. And if America could have said, you know what, when the first boats left the Holocaust and came to this country, that we would have accepted them, maybe a different story. But Brianna, there is no place for Jewish people to go. And I would just ask that you open your heart.
Yeah.
But let me just finish.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were
ask you to open your heart to what it's like to not look like someone who maybe needs some help. But let me tell you,
look like a white dude.
For millions of Jewish people around the world right now, I think it's really offensive that progressives have totally forgotten history and what the misery of being Jewish has been for generations and generations and generations, for reasons that I do not really understand, but is real. So please, don't let that progressive luck stop at my door. Well, okay.
I'll help you understand. For one, Representative Phillips, it strikes me as a little ironic that you're going to say to me in my face as a Black American who doesn't have the option of someone that the United Nations and the international community having intervened on my behalf to create an entire country for my people who have zero options of some place to flee, who have been living in an apartheid state of our own in the United States of America, which has the 25% of the world's prison population that was disproportionately filled with my people, who was reported this week, substantively make all of the paint and slave labor products in the United States of America so we can compete with China and the rest of the world. The idea that you're looking at me and saying that I don't have empathy and can't open my heart to the psychic idea.
Progressive, Brianna, I do have empathy. That's what I'm asking for.
I am a progressive, so I'm speaking to you as a progressive, but also as a Black progressive. I have enormous empathy. Wait a minute. I have enormous empathy for the reasons why Jewish people want a Jewish state. I talk about this.
Wait a minute. Why? Because they went around doing kind of like we see now, this is the modern day of them getting kicked out of Spain in 1492. This is the modern version of it. You know what I'm saying? We see why they get kicked. What are you gonna do? Stop. I didn't make up the word shyster. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was a whole list of words you could call them, and shyster was like the one I liked the most. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all say small hats and like hook nosed bagel eater. You know what I'm saying? But like shyster, I like that one. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like, you know, like we just got, I don't know, it's this whole sympathy and love for everybody. Now, like I said, I disagree with this sister on a lot of stuff, you know, but that's neither here nor there.
On the podcast a lot, there is a big part of me that says,
What up,
oh,
RBG?
I get it, because I do not feel safe in the United States of America. Not just me as an individual, but statistically as an aggregate. There's not a metric in the world that you can look at that says that this is a good place for Black Americans to be, that Black Americans are faring well in the United States of America.
Ain't scared yet.
And I take your point, but it's also true that I know you and I are sitting here as two people who are not Christian in a predominantly Christian state. And there are Christians in America who make this very similar argument about America that it seems to me many people make about Israel, which is, oh, this is a Christian nation. And if immigration trends change and suddenly it does not become as much of a Christian nation, that we should rig the immigrant population to maintain the national character of the United States of America. We call that Christian nationalism, and we think that that's a bigoted principle, and that we should not be picking and choosing who comes to this country to maintain some kind of ethnic or religious character.
See, this is one thing I disagree with her, because I am what I guess you would call a Black nationalist. Yeah, I definitely think we should, what you call gatekeep. That would make it seem a lot better. We should definitely gatekeep our stuff. You know what I'm saying? As a Black person, I don't care where you are. Absolutely, I'm a Black nationalist. You know what I'm saying? So
that benefits the existing majority. We say as Americans, we value pluralism and that every kind of person brings their own benefit, and that we should protect the least of these and have laws that protect minorities, because we value being a nation where minorities can be saved. Not that we have to rig the system so that we are America and an anti-Semitic Europe be paid for by the people of Palestine who had absolutely nothing to do with the horrors of the Holocaust.
Well, see, a couple hundred years before that, though, they did come in with like a reign of terror with that whole Islam stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's, well, you know, anyway. I had a whole slave trade of their own. You know, anyway.
I mean, Brianna, first, you know, let me strike at the heart of what you just said earlier, which is my empathy for Black America.
I love
and the long tail of slavery that is so abhorrent and so visible and so obvious that I cannot believe.
By the way, shysters, yeah, they did fund, like, you know, if you look up, they was involved a lot with the Dutch. You know what I'm saying? Like the West India Dutch Company and all of that stuff. If you look up who was putting the money up in the donors and all of that stuff, you know. And a lot of the stuff that had to do with the Dutch, it was them under guise of being the Dutch, because after they got kicked out, a lot of them went there. And then you see, once they start going there, the rise of the Dutch into the slave trade started going up, you know what I'm saying? Along with, you know, when they start funding Britain and stuff like that. But they competed like everybody else, you know. But, you know, that's
visible and so obvious that I cannot believe we have not repaired that injustice. I want to honor that and acknowledge that. If anything, I'm telling you, I empathize with that. I was asking for mutual empathy, and I don't know if you just shared it with me. I think you did, but you just asked a question of something that is just, it's just so historically inaccurate. Israel has been attacked because it's a Jewish state for decades. Now, Netanyahu is a different story. I'm not going to support him. What's happening right now is abhorrent, and his policies are abhorrent.
It's abhorrent.
It's true.
All right.
I got to
take a step back
after the Holocaust. It was attacked by any longer. But Israel has been attacked since the day it was established by the free world after the Holocaust. It was attacked by its neighbors, and they survived.
That's like saying that American settlers were attacked by Native Americans because they were white. or because they were
Oh
Christian.
boy, Brianna, holy
it's
moly,
just-
boy!
it's-
This is holy moly.
I'm just, I got to tell you, I'm expressing empathy for Palestinians.
Gotta tell you, I'm like flabbergasted. I'm taken back. What did she say that was wrong right there?
Because they were white, or because
by its neighbors, and they survived.
That's like saying that
let me hurry up,
American
I'm
settlers
sorry.
were attacked by Native Americans because they were white, or because they were Christian.
Oh boy, Brianna, holy moly, boy! I'm just telling you, I got to tell you, I'm expressing empathy for Palestinians, for Muslims, for Black Americans.
I said I love
I'm not
Negroes.
feeling
What the
I'm
world?
surprised, to be honest with you, and I'm offended.
What is surprising about this, Representative?
I'm offended.
I'm just surprised. I'm surprised by the lack. I just explained it. I'm surprised by the lack of empathy of progressives relative to the Jewish people and the state of Israel, not Benjamin
What do you
Netanyahu.
say, Dean Phillips, to the thousands and thousands of Jewish advocates for Palestinian rights who comprise organizations like
All right. Who cares about
This is not a issue on which Jewish people are all on one side or the other. I have this revisionist history of what it means to be a Zionist, and how many Jewish thought leaders from Albert Einstein all the way down were highly critical of the Zionist project precisely because they saw it as replicating the harms that were done to Jews in Europe on a new population. And that never again was supposed to mean never again for anyone. We're not talking about a historical record where Jewish people just decided to immigrate to the land of Palestine and live alongside. There were Jews, Arab Jews, that lived in Palestine to accept the victims and the survivors of the Holocaust.
You know, we gotta put on a heavy cake for Arabs and stuff like that. It's not like they did it before. You know what I'm saying? They got there.
Historian of Zionism. It ended up being in Palestine. Zionism. It ended up various reasons, and I highly recommend people go back. There was a conversation about whether or not Israel should be located in Africa. But for various reasons, and I highly recommend people go back to listen to our episode with the Zionist historian of Zionism, it ended up being in Palestine. And so that is a kind of original sin that I see as very akin to
where the Jewish people originated. I mean, that's the whole
fine.
point.
That's fine.
He would have like died from like sun exposure if he had been in that land at that time. All right. They did not have sunblock or none of that, but I tell them go live there now without no take away all the sunscreen, you know what I'm saying? Blow up all the sunscreen factories in America and see what happens, you know what I'm saying?
Fine.
That's fine. That's the whole point. That's where the Jewish people originated.
You cannot have there are Ukrainian Jews and Russian Jews and Polish Jews and French Jews and British Jews and Jewish people who've been living in Europe for centuries and decades, centuries and centuries. And on the other hand, you have Palestinians who are 80 years old, who are clutching the keys to the houses that they grew up.
They probably only been there for a little while because, you know, that whole Islam thing.
That is the injustice that we're talking about here. If we're talking about moral weight and what was deserved after the Holocaust, you have my utmost sympathy. You have my utmost empathy. But the question isn't what is owed. It is what is owed from whom. And why is it that Europe gets to offload its own responsibilities? The Jewish state wasn't in Poland. I bet you a whole lot of people who had been chased out of their lands and put into concentration camps would have loved to feel safe in a land where they spoke the language and they had their own community and they had their own belongings and the like. But this is
the only reason they were living there, Brianna, is because
go back to Turkey, aka
they were forced there by the Tsar. It's hard to listen to, but go ahead. I'm just, you know,
I don't need to belabor
I'm listening.
I mean, that's fine. And we can all sit here and be offended. But the question now isn't really, and it's a moot point because in large part, Israel won this battle. They have established the country and nobody's...
Say, you know, you're attacking me in a funny way because I'm telling you, I don't, what's so interesting is I'm not sure you heard what I said. I'm a Jewish man running for president of the United States of America who wants to recognize the state of Palestine. I believe that we should invest in the state of Palestine. If I could just say what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be a voice of decency, of compassion, of reason in the absence of it. And if you look at the other people running for president, Brianna, my goodness, I'm telling you, I'm appalled. I want this to end. It should have never started. And yes, Hamas is a horrific, despicable terrorist organization that needs to be eliminated. Benjamin Netanyahu should not be, I don't think, the prime minister of Israel moving forward. And
yeah, unfortunately, a large part of this video was caping for like Arabs, you know what I'm saying? Which is interesting because I could not go set up and open a store in Palestine and then call a Israeli cop so they could sit on a dude's neck for 10 minutes and stuff like that. Then be like, yeah, I stand with you, you know.
Pray that Israelis make a change. Israel is the only multicultural, multi-faith free country in the entire Middle East. As Richie Torres says, it's the only place where he as a gay man could be alive, let alone thrive. And look I'm trying to be decent. Okay, Brianna, I'm trying to be compassionate and decent.
Gay marriage isn't legal in Israel.
I'm sorry?
Gay marriage is not legal in Israel. And interfaith marriage is not legal in Israel. People have to fly to Cyprus to get married if you want to marry a Christian or a Muslim or anybody else. I mean, like, let's just be honest about what we're doing here.
Entire Middle East. Okay.
I mean, let's just be the question. The reason we're circling around. I appreciate that. Frankly, yes, you are. I think closer to my politics than Joe Biden for sure, and that's what we're talking about in the Democratic primary. But
Brianna, Brianna, I would love to continue the conversation. I was just notified actually that something serious just happened. I've got to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you go to the position here on state solution.
I seriously have to go. Let me tell you this. I would love to have this conversation because I like to learn. And I like to understand your perspective on it. I'd like to listen to others too. I'm not so hardened in my heart on anything that thoughtful perspectives from other people can't change my mind. I'd like to listen and learn.
So I get the point though, right? Well, yeah, unfortunately, you know, this sister here is one of the people of color stuff, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, a lot of us will be like, you know, like you saw all those people talking about boycotting when the damn Arab, you know, something happened to them, but forget the thousands of things that happen to us. But to explain this dude, this explains it all, right? You know, you got the Neanderthal exhibit, and then you got the modern day Neanderthal here. So that explains all of their actions. Yeah, he was straight ran from that one. But I want to play this one. Shouts out to my brother Black Magus for sending this. I want this to be the last words. I appreciate all of y'all for listening, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna let these young brothers be the last word because I can definitely appreciate young brothers doing some good things, and I guess this will be the positive thing in the last word. So shouts out to these young brothers rapping about farming and eating healthy, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully it play again.
Chop it up. In my hood, there ain't really much to eat. Popeyes on the corner, McDonald's right across the street. All this talk about guns and the drugs, pretty serious. But look at what they feeding y'all. That's what's really killing us. Please change the food in my school, make it good. Get that fake food up out of my hood. Hope the message not misunderstood. Grow and cook your own food, yes you could. Got the little homies in the garden, got the big homies selling collard greens in the north side. Ain't starving since community cooks been on the scene.
Screaming hot Cheetos and Takis, boy, you better eat your broccoli. Fake food is kinda lame, putting poison in your brain. Need more people at the club, popping bottles of that water, dabbing on that fast food. Pulling veggies out the garden, I go hard, I eat good, and I put that on my mama. Eating healthy school lunch, and that's where the Miss Obama. Drinking water, living longer, no processed drama. Call me.
Young brother said drinking water, living longer. You know what I'm saying? Forget that processed stuff. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, shouts out to the Smoothie Queen. Y'all support the Smoothie Queen. You know, I guess I should have had it, but yeah, shouts out to that. Shouts out to Sidra. We definitely gonna be back Friday with the next part of the you know, the meeting and stuff like that about talking about business. But you know, we're gonna go from a little different angle this time. But shouts out to RBG to my brother William Bell. Appreciate you coming through. Definitely shouts out to Raw. Shouts out Cathedral Realm in the Bush. Shouts out to Blanca J. Shouts out to Matron in the building. It was a great reading earlier. You know what I'm saying? Y'all subscribe to Matron so y'all can hear the read. Like, I don't know why people don't like, you know, you definitely learn, you know what I'm saying? And especially if you want to know Black history, you know. Shouts out to my brother Anthony. You know, I appreciate all of y'all for listening. You know what? I'm gonna play this one more time just because these young brothers is doing something good, man. Shouts out to them, man.
Chop it up. In my hood, they ain't really much to eat. Popeyes on the corner, McDonald's right across the street. All this talk about guns and the drugs, pretty serious. But look at what they feeding y'all. That's what's really killing us. Please change. The food on my school, make it good. Get that fake food up out of my hood. Hope the message not misunderstood. Grow and cook your own food, yes you could. Got the little homies in the garden. Got the big homies selling collard greens in the north side. Ain't starving since community cooks been on the scene.
Screaming hot Cheetos and Takis, boy, you better eat your broccoli. Fake food is kinda lame, putting poison in your brain. Need more people at the club, popping bottles of that water, dabbing on that fast food. Pulling veggies out the garden, I go hard, I eat good, and I put that on my mama. Eating healthy school lunch, and that's where the Miss Obama. Drinking water, living longer, no processed drama. Call me.
Yeah, definitely. RBG is on point, you know. So shouts out to these young brothers. Oh yeah, and everybody else that I didn't say. Shouts out to all of y'all. But as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.